Good afternoon and welcome all of you to the third day of the webinar series organized by Department of Mathematics, the research discussion on graphs and groups. Let me invite Professor Ampad Vijaykumar to introduce the speaker.
Okay, in fact, to this audience, we don't require an introduction of Professor Tamiselvam. He has been talking on zero divisor graphs since many years, and he has done an excellent contributions also in these areas of graph theory. He is currently retired last year from MS University, Tirunelveli, Tamil Nadu, and joined there as a CSIR emeritus scientist since I think this year. So on behalf of all the participants and the department, I welcome Professor Tamiselvam. And there is this topic of discussion is slightly different from what we had for two talks, but he is going to connect it with commutative rings and so on. So welcome, Tamiselvam.
So good afternoon to everyone. I thank Professor Vijaykumar and Dr. Aparna for this opportunity of interacting with or in this group discussion. As pointed out by Professor Vijaykumar, even though the title of the group discussion is graphs from groups, this is a different talk in which I am going to tell about the first ever graph construction from commutative rings. Let me present the. In fact, the title of the talk today is Generalizations of Zero Divisor Graph of Commutative Rings, or even general non-commutative rings. Of course, this is not as in the previous talk, in which some advanced level things were projected. As I was informed by Professor Vijaykumar that there are students just who have completed master's degree. So in order to reach them, just I will start from the basic things. Please forgive me for some time, little while. And of course, I'm not going to talk about the properties of the graphs from commutative rings. Rather, I would like to highlight upon there are some generalizations have occurred in the recent times. So what are the generalized graphs, supergraphs of zero divisor graphs defined, and just I would like to introduce them, because within 45 minutes, I hope that's only possible for me. Okay, these are the notations I shall be following. Throughout my talk, R is a commutative ring, of course with identity, 1 not equal to 0. Z of R denotes the set of all zero divisors of R. Of course, the set of all elements AB equal to 0 for two elements A and B in R. Of course, this existence of these zero divisors makes certain things not possible in the case of rings compared to fields. And Z star of R denotes the set of all non-zero zero divisors of R. Of course, in terms of annihilator, 0 commutes with 0 when it is making a product with non-zero elements, it makes 0. Therefore, it is a universal annihilator. Just we avoid that and we denote it as Z star of R. And a nilpotent of commutative ring, an element A is said to be nilpotent if there exists a positive integer k or least positive integer k such that A power k is equal to 0. Of course, because k is the least positive integer, when A power k is equal to 0, A into A power k minus 1 is 0, A power k minus 1 is non-zero. Therefore, nilpotence is a subset of zero divisors. Of course, the students can understand that by the use of binomial theorem, if you add any two nilpotent elements, it's again nilpotent. There is a notion of regular elements. Regular elements are nothing but R minus Z of R. Of course, there is another notion of von Neumann regular. It's not that we are talking here. The complement of the zero divisors is referred as regular elements. Of course, people know that whenever an element A has got a multiplicative inverse, that is called as the set of all units of R, and it is a multiplicative group of units. And Mn of R denotes set of all n by n matrices over the commutative ring R, or even the general ring R. Of course, just for the sake of students, I would like to say that when R is finite, the commutative ring is union of zero divised sets and units. Of course, you can see that what is the difference which I would like to call upon. In the complementary case of Z of R is nothing but regular, but the units is a subset of regular. In the case of finite, that regular elements is nothing but unit elements. Of course, if we take the congruent modulo n class, Zn, it is every element, every congruent modulo n class is either a zero divisor or a multiplicative unit. Of course, A in Zn is a unit if and only if GCD of A comma n is equal to 1. But in the case of infinite, the situation is something different. You have both the components of Z of R, units, and regular elements. For example, if we take the integral domain of integers, here the zero divised sets is only 0 because it is an integral domain. Of course, units are nothing but 1 and minus 1. Regular elements, except all these three, everything is regular. Of course, this U of Z is also a subset of regular. So it's not, it is just minus 0. And one of the handicaps with regard to the zero divised sets in a commutative ring or in a ring is nothing but it is not closed with respect to addition. For example, you take congruent modulo 12 classes. The zero divised sets are nothing but the elements in between 0 and 12, which are not relatively prime to 12, 0, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 12. Of course, if you add 2 plus 3, which is 5, which is not an element here. So that is one of the thing. Of course, in this part of the study, always this property makes impact. Suppose Z of R is closed with respect to addition, then it becomes an ideal. It satisfies all other conditions. Thereby, always the things are dealt according to whether Z of R is an ideal or not. Of course, for any element A in R, the annihilator is nothing but set of all B in R such that AB equal to 0. Of course, annihilator is an ideal and it is a subset of Z of R for every element A in R except 0, because annihilator of 0 is R if A is equal to 0. So this annihilator is a subset of zero divised sets except 0. Suppose U is a unit. In this case, annihilator is 0 because suppose A into U is equal to 0, I can multiply by U inverse, A becomes 0. Therefore, the U is a unit means annihilator is 0. As I said, annihilator is a subset of Z of R for every element A not equal to 0. And this is the property which makes certain things possible in the case of the study. The zero divised sets is union of annihilator ideals. And rather, more specifically, or the other way, it is a union of prime ideals of R. Of course, from this last statement, the set of all zero divised sets is the union of prime ideals. Suppose set of R is an ideal, it is a union of prime ideals and it is also an ideal. Thereby, we know the elementary property that union of two ideals is an ideal if and only if one is contained in the other. Thereby, Z of R becomes one of the ideal. Ultimately, it is a prime ideal. Therefore, this Z of R is a prime ideal of R. In the case of Z of R is an ideal. Of course, in that case, the quotient ring is an integral domain. If you land into the finite case and assume that Z of R is an ideal, then the quotient ring is a field because finite integral domain is a field. Of course, the another important thing is that when it is an ideal, it is a maximal ideal because I told you all ideals, annihilator ideals are subset of this one. Ultimately, Z of R is a maximal ideal. Why I am drawing attention of this fact to the audience is on whenever these graphs are studied, the first thing, the class of rings which are considered for the purpose is local rings. Just I will say, suppose so you see when Z of R is an ideal, it is a maximal ideal. Every ideal is contained in Z of R except R. Every ideal is contained in a maximal ideal. Therefore, when Z of R is an ideal, it is a maximal ideal. All the ideals are contained in Z of R. Ultimately, it is a unique maximal ideal. The ring happened to be a local ring. So, whenever any graph is considered corresponding to a commutative ring, the first class of graph considered for this purpose is nothing but local ring. Local ring means it is a ring with unique maximal ideal. Of course, it is a fact. For example, R is equal to Z8, congruent modulo 8 classes, then Z of Z8 is nothing but 0 to 4, 6, and it is a maximal ideal. Thereby, it's a local ring. Of course, the fact is, if R is a finite local ring, its cardinality is some prime power, P power n for some n greater than or equal to 1. Okay. Just with this, let me get into the topic. Of course, the other day, Peter has said that in 1955, this power graph is introduced corresponding to a group. Of course, the Kelly graph is previous to that. But with regard to commutative rings, the very first ever graph construction from a commutative ring is by Ivan Beck, 1988, Journal of Algebra. And it is the first graph construction from commutative ring, and thereafter over the past 30 years, lot of developments happening in this part of graph theory. Of course, for a commutative ring R, the zero divisor graph is denoted by gamma of R, for which the vertex set is non-zero zero divisors. Of course, edge set is nothing but two elements are joined, provided A into B is equal to 0. This is a multiplication in the R. If A into B equal to 0, and if A and B are distinct, then they are joined as an edge. Of course, in the first instance, when Ivan Beck defined this graph, literally this is not the definition. He has taken all the elements of R as vertices and constructed the graph. Please note that 0 into A equal to 0 for all A in R. Thereby, there exists a strong substructure K1 n minus 1 if R contains n elements. And it is a strong substructure in the zero divisor graph. Of course, later on, this definition was introduced by D.F. Anderson and P.S. Livingston. And this is the definition due to them. However, the credit is always referred to Ivan Beck. Note that gamma of R is an empty graph if and only if R is an integral domain. Integral domain means 0 is the only zero divisor. 0 we are not considering for vertex set. Therefore, it is an empty graph. Of course, what is the degree of the vertex in this graph? It is a theoretical thing that the cardinality of annihilator of A, difference 0, A is the degree of the vertex A in, sorry, this is not X, A in gamma of R. Of course, this is only the other way of telling that what is it algebraically, but we don't know what is really the number of annihilators for a particular element. Even that is not algebraically known. So this is what, even though it reveals that it is something known, but it is not actually what it is exactly. Okay. Just I would like to give an example of the zero divisor graph.
Professor?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have a query. So your graph can be an infinite graph, right?
Yeah, that's what I would like to say.
Okay.
In fact, I just after a slide, I will say there are many classes considered for infinite graph also.
Okay.
So it is not as per the convention or something in the graph theory, we consider infinite graphs also. Okay.
Thank you.
Fine. So you consider the three rings Z6, Z8 and Z2 of X over X cube. Of course, this is a quotient ring of ring of polynomials with coefficients in Z2 over the ideal generated by x cube. Of course, these are the cosets which are zero divisors in this ring, because if we multiply these two, x cube is getting absorbed there, ultimately it is 0. If we multiply these two, x cube plus x power 4, because this is an ideal, once x cube becomes x power 4 and so on and so forth. Therefore, these are the zero divisors of these three non-associative rings. Of course, these two are very trivial fact that this contains 6 elements, this contains 8 elements. Naturally, they are non-isomorphic. Of course, regarding these two, the underlying additive groups are not isomorphic. Of course, for our purpose, what is the zero divisor graph of all these three rings? Of course, for all these three rings, the zero divisor graph is nothing but path of length 2 or path with 3 vertices. Of course, in this case, Z6, this must be 2, this must be 3, this must be 4. 2 into 3, 6, modulo 6, 0. 3 into 4, 12, modulo 6, 0. And similarly, one can do the things. Of course, this is an example to indicate that even non-isomorphic commutative rings will have isomorphic zero divisor graph. So that is one of the facts. And because of that, the zero divisor graph is not full representation of the algebraic structure of the commutative ring. It is not so. It is only partial representation of the underlying structure. Of course, just for the sake of students, just I exhibit what are all possible zero divisors of small order. Of course, there is a great survey by Anderson, in which there is a paper by Redmond, International Journal of Commutative Rings, in which he has given almost all commutative rings up to order 13 and the corresponding zero divisor graphs one can refer. So here, corresponding to these two rings, this is the zero divisor graph. For these three, Z9, Z2 times Z2, Z3 of x over x square, this is the zero divisor graph. For these four, Z6, Z8, Z2 of x over x cube, Z4 of x by ideal generated by 2x comma x square minus 2, this is the zero divisor graph. Of course, I request the students, please work it out and realize yourself so that you will get into an idea. Of course, in the case of these four commutative rings, this F4 is a finite field of 4 elements. Of course, you know the underlying additive group is 1 omega, omega square and 0. Of course, yeah, they are the elements and the additive structure is Killian-Spur group. Okay. For all these four commutative rings, this is the zero divisor graph, and for Z2 cross F4, this is the zero divisor graph. Of course, in the case of Z3 times Z3, C4 is a zero divisor graph, and in the case of Z5 and Z4,
sorry.
Yeah, please.
You please take the previous slide. Yeah. See, this motivated me to ask a question. This is some two forbidden subgraphs for line graphs. So, is there any results that?
Just a few minutes. One minute. I will come to that. Next slide answers for your question.
Okay.
Yeah. And these are all possible zero divisor graphs of small order. Of course, as I mentioned previously, non-isomorphic rings may have same zero divisor graph. Of course, there are some class of graphs which can be realized as zero divisor graphs. For example, complete bipartite with some restriction on m and n, k, m, comma, n. Suppose I take two integral domains R1 and R2. Consider the commutative ring R is equal to R2 times R2 direct product. And what is the zero divisor graph of this one? And of course, this is the tool for many things in this class of graphs. When direct product is there, the zero divisor set is known. Of course, the first component 0, second component is R2, all elements of the second ring. On the other hand, you take all elements of R1 and second component 0, then the zero divisor is this union. Of course, this is one partition, this is another partition. If you take an element here and take an element here, definitely the product is 0. Thereby, this is a complete bipartite graph of index cardinality of R1 minus 1, comma cardinality of R2 minus 2. Of course, one must know that this number could be only a prime power. This is also prime power. Therefore, this index must be p power n minus 1, q power m minus 1 for some primes p and q and integers m comma n greater than or equal to 1. Of course, for other numbers, this is not possible to have it. And of course, when you take rather than fields, you will get the same thing. And when r is equal to zp square, where p is a prime number, one can compute that, and ultimately this is a complete graph on p minus 1, because how many units are there, thereby I know how many zero divisors are there, and any zero divisor is a multiple of prime p. If I multiply any two zero divisors, naturally p square will come, congruent to mod p square 0. Therefore, this is a complete graph on p minus 1 vertices. Similarly, gamma of zp cube is nothing but kp square minus 1. Complete graph of p square minus 1 vertices. Of course, I think this is what Professor Vijay Kumar wanted to have. P n greater than or equal to 4 cannot be realized as a zero divisor graph. Path with 4 vertices or even more, it cannot be realized as a zero divisor graph. Of course, one can see the very first paper by Anderson, in which a proof by contradiction is available. Of course, I have given in the previous slide, C4 is a zero divisor graph.
This answers your question, that not every graph is a zero divisor graph.
Yeah, that's what. But you wanted to have forbidden structure.
No, that those two graphs becomes K13 becomes a forbidden subgraph for line graphs.
Okay.
So, is there any way of looking at a zero divisor graph being a line graph or not line graph, like that? Some property P.
There are some papers in which, but I don't know whether this particular property is dealt. What you wanted to have is zero divisor graphs without K13. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, I think there are some.
It is
claw-free. Yeah, there are some characterizations available for claw-free. Of course, it is only my coincidental observation that in every graph construction of this kind, some or other way people could obtain a characterization for claw-free in terms of the algebraic things, in terms of the direct product. Okay. Yeah, I can give reference for that. Of course, even though this cannot be realized as a zero divisor graph, but there are rings R for which Cn is a subgraph of gamma of R. Of course, you take Z2 of ring of polynomials with n variables, Z2 of x1, x2, etc., xn over ideal generated by x1 square, comma x2 square, comma xn square, comma x1, x2, etc., etc., pairwise xn. That is the if you take the zero divisor graph for the ring of polynomials, you will get Cn as a subgraph of this one. Okay, how I get into this topic? It is because of my teacher, Ganesan. He proved in 1964 mathematical analysis. Suppose R is a commutative ring which contains at least m greater than or equal to 2, m zero divisors, then R is necessarily finite and it contains not more than m square elements. So ultimately, it is a meaning that a non-integral domain, because integral domain contains only one zero divisors, a non-integral domain, then if the number of zero divisors is finite, the ring is also finite, and we know the upper bound for the number of elements. Of course, this is what the statement. When R is an integral domain, if Z of R is 1, then it is an integral domain. If cardinality of Z of R is equal to m, then R is a finite commutative. Of course, this result was subsequently generalized for non-commutative case also. It is 1965, same mathematical NLN. If R is a non-commutative ring containing m left 0 divisors, n right 0 divisors, m comma n greater than or equal to 2, then cardinality of R is less than or equal to minimum of m square comma n square. Okay, that's also available. But what is the relevance of this result in 1992, Anderson and Livingston? This result is re-quoted as, or it is restated as, in terms of zero divisor graph. Suppose R is a commutative ring, then the zero divisor graph is finite if and only if R is finite or R is an integral domain. Of course, in the case of integral domain, it is an empty graph. So this tells that if R is finite, gamma of R is finite. One way is very trivial. What about the other way? If gamma of R is finite, R is finite, it is being proved in this theorem. So basically, this theorem is restated as the ring is finite if and only if the corresponding zero divisor graph is finite. Of course, when now I answered the question by Sankar, if R is infinite, naturally the zero divisor graph is also infinite. So infinite cases, you can deal with only infinite commutative rings. There is no infinite commutative ring with a finite zero divisor graph. Okay. Of course, in this part of the graph theory, infinite graphs are also considered simultaneously unless otherwise R is taken as finite. Of course, as I mentioned previously, in this part of the study, the people are dealing with finite, local, Artinian, because Artinian ring has got a Artinian decomposition theorem into local rings. Once you know local ring, you know zero divisors, they are all comfortable. Beyond that point, things are complicated because there is no structure for the commutative ring. Okay. Some of the basic properties to mention: gamma of R is connected. Its diameter is at most 3. Grid is either at most 4 or infinity. So the grid is either 3 or 4 or infinity. In fact, zero divisor graph of several classes of rings are studied. Of course, some of them to mention: congruent modulo n classes, the ring of polynomials over R, ring of power series over R, ring of Gaussian integers modulo n. Of course, these are all some classes of graphs which are hectically studied in this part of the graph theory. Of course, in general, if we take, as I said, local rings, Artinian rings, finite, local, Artinian, and so on. So, of course, the two things which are making things possible or characterization is possible is, according to the commutative ring, is whether it is reduced or not. A commutative ring is said to be reduced if it contains no non-zero nilpotent element.
Hello.
Hello.
You said that gamma R diameter is at most 3, isn't it? Less than or equal to 3.
Yeah.
So are there cases where you know something about the diameter is precisely 2?
That is what I would like to say. In fact, the complete characterization of grid is available. When it is 3, when it is 4, when it is infinity, complete characterization is available by a paper by Anderson again. In the similar way, diameter. What?
You will be mentioning these references towards the end.
Yeah, I will give the survey. Even I can send the survey paper to you and you can communicate to all. Okay. I have got with me in that survey paper. In fact, very recently, 2020, there is a survey appeared in Survey of Mathematics, which contains almost all details about zero divisor graphs. A very excellent survey. I will give that
useful for the participants.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Of course, the complete characterization of grid is available. Complete characterization of when it is a complete graph, when it is complete bipartite, and the things are settled. Of course, by the way of diameter and grid or the distances, the radius and centers are characterized. Of course, there is a notion of complementation. A is perpendicular to B if A to B is an edge and it is not a part of triangle. So, it's complemented zero divisor graphs are also characterized. by Anderson through this, and of course, okay. A very important problem that is called the converse problem in this part of the graph theory. If R and S are isomorphic or commutative rings, naturally gamma of R is isomorphic to gamma of S. This is a very trivial observation because the ring isomorphism is very strong when we compare to graph isomorphism. It is only derived thing. But what about the converse? Of course, converse is not true. Trivially, we have given example Z8 and Z6 for which K2 is the zero-divisor graph, but the rings are not isomorphic. So naturally, the converse problem is attended. If our R and S are reduced, which are not fields, then the converse is true. If R and S are direct product of finite local rings, of course, the number of components must be same. Here is also n, here is also n. There must be a permutation between the indices. Then this converse problem is true. If the zero-divisor graphs are isomorphic, the rings are isomorphic. Of course, a direct product of not only finite local rings, integer domains also, this problem was proved. Okay, these are all some of the things. Of course, in one more characterization, for some Noetherian class of things, Noetherian rings, along with some more condition, the converse problem was attempted. For the remaining part of the domain, the problem is still open. It is a worthwhile problem, but it is really a complicated problem also. Of course, with regard to automorphism group of zero divisors, this is studied. Automorphism group of Zn is abelian if and only if n is equal to 4, 6, 8, 9 or 12. Automorphism group of zero divisor graph is simple if and only if its cardinality of the ring is less than or equal to 8. Of course, automorphism group of Z 1225 is approximately equivalent. It contains this many elements: 6.19827 into 10 to the power 598. Of course, this automorphism group of Zn is nothing but a direct product of symmetric groups, where the indices of the symmetric groups corresponding to divisors of n and number of elements which are having GCD with particular divisor. The Anderson paper is containing these things. Of course, as I said, it's not converse problem. In the case of Noetherian ring, this automorphism group is finite if and only if R is finite. Automorphism group is simple if and only if cardinality of R is less than or equal to 8. Automorphism group is soluble. If it is soluble, then R is either cardinality 25, 27 or 2 power R into 3 power S into 5 power T. With these conditions are R and S T. Of course, automorphism group is abelian, then cardinality of R is either this. In fact, the ultimate question posed in that paper is, you see, the previously this automorphism group is finite if and only if R is finite. Automorphism group is simple this way. If this is soluble, this we know, but the converse path is not known. So the question is, are there only finitely many finite rings for which the automorphism group of gamma of R is soluble or abelian? Still, it is not attempted. Okay, there are so many things which I cannot list out everything here because it may take hours together to talk about that. Just I would like to give the generalizations of this one. The first generalization is by Redmond, Communications and Algebra 2001. He has introduced the notion of ideal based zero divisor graph. If R is a commutative ring, I is an ideal, then the zero divisor graph of R with respect to I is the undirected graph denoted by gamma I of R with the vector set of all x in R minus I such that xy is an element of I for some y in R minus I, and two distinct vertices x and y are adjacent if and only if xy is an element of I. Please note that this is in order to have avoid isolated vertices. This is being taken because for every x in R minus I, there must exist at least one element for which xy is equal to I. This is the algebraic condition for adjacency. So in order to avoid the isolated vertices, it has been taken that way. Of course, when I is equal to 0, naturally the ideal based zero divisor graph is nothing but zero divisor graph. Just you take an example. You take R is equal to Z6 cross Z3, I is equal to 0 times Z3. Then you please look at 4, 1 into 3, 2 is equal to 0, 2, which is an element of I, thereby they are adjacent. So this way, this is a graph of the ideal based zero divisor graph of Z6 times Z3 corresponding to 0 times Z3. So this has been studied parallelly. Of course, it is not as in the case of zero divisor graphs. There are many openings. It is not being attempted. Of course, one of the fact you may ask, how do you claim that this ideal based zero divisor graph is a superclass of the zero divisor graph? Of course, there are rings and ideals for which the ideal based zero divisor graph is not the zero divisor graph of any of the rings. For example, you take R is equal to Z4 times Z5, I is equal to 0 times Z5. Then one can check that the ideal based zero divisor graph is K5, but for 5, which is not of the form prime power minus 1, this cannot be realized as a zero divisor graph. Therefore, there exists an ideal based zero divisor graph, which is not a zero divisor graph. Thereby, this is a superclass. Okay, because just now I told you K5 is not a zero divisor graph because of this fact. This 5 is not of this form for some prime number P. Of course, another generalization which took place in 2014 by Ayman Badawi, annihilator graph. For a commutative ring R, the annihilator graph is an undirected simple graph AG of R with the vertex set Z of R star, and the two distinct vertices are adjacent if and only if annihilator of xy is not equal to annihilator of x union annihilator of y. Of course, I can give an example. For Z8, you take it. You take annihilator of 2, this is this one. Annihilator of 4, this one. But 2 into 4, 8, which is annihilator of 6 is this. 2 into 4, which is 8, 0. Annihilator of 0 is full. If you take the union of these two, which is not a full ring, therefore 2 and 4 are adjacent. So please look into the condition. Annihilator of xy is not equal to annihilator of x union annihilator of y. Then they are adjacent. Ultimately, this is the annihilator graph of Z8. Please recall, zero divisor graph of C8 is nothing but path of length 2. Therefore,
excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
There are 2 questions in the chat box. May I read them now?
Please.
Yeah. First question is, when is the zero divisor graph a line graph, planar graph, Hamiltonian graph? Such things are answered or not. Then another question from Professor Cameron is that which finite graphs are induced subgraphs of the zero divisor graph of some ring? So these are the 2 questions.
The first thing is with regard to planarity. As far as I know, up to the point of 2020, planarity is characterized, genus 1 is characterized, genus 2 is characterized in the case of certain direct products. Planarity is completely characterized. And the second thing, what you Hamiltonian, of course, there is a paper by Akbari in which Hamiltonian characterization is also done. And with regard to Cameron question, which are the induced subgraphs?
Induced subgraphs of the zero divisor graph. Which finite graphs?
Yeah, that is not because you know what is the subgraph we are taking, and ultimately this ring has to be answered. I don't think that that type of characterization is available. Only in the case of complete bipartite, complete and something, that too for the zero divisor graph, not the induced graph. Even in the case of the example which I have given, Cn, cycle of length n, which is not an induced subgraph, which is only a subgraph. It is a complicated thing that when it is an induced subgraph, I don't think it is available. What is the response from camera or anything?
Okay,
No.
the response from me is that might be an interesting question for us to think
Interesting
about.
question. Definitely interesting question. Okay, we will try to do something on that as far as I think.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. And in the case of this is the annihilator graph of Z4 times Z3. One can check it. Of course, how the zero divisor graph is a sub of the annihilator graph. Suppose I take, you know that the vertex set is same for both the graphs.
Hello, sir.
I take, yeah, please.
Sir, the weaker question, which finite graphs are zero divisor graph of some ring? Even that question is not.
No, that is not answered.
Yeah. So
Not,
if you don't know,
it is ultimately which will land into only this one. Even yeah, that's a very complicated part of the game. I know, because one way only it has been the study on this part of the graphs is taking a commutative ring with some algebraic assumption. The graph theoretical properties are analyzed, but you are all talking about the converse problem. Given a graph with some graph theoretical property, what can you say about the algebraic conclusion? That is a converse part of the problem. That's what it is complicated. Am I correct?
okay, sir. I'm saying the in classifying the induced subgraphs, all possible induced subgraphs.
Because you are assuming some graph, you know. Thereby the assumption is graph theoretical.
Right.
You wanted to get into algebraic.
Right.
Naturally, it is converse part.
Right, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
So suppose xy is an edge in the zero divisor graph, xy equal to 0, thereby the annihilator is full ring. Suppose R is equal to annihilator of x union annihilator of y, then union of two ideals is an ideal if and only if one is an ideal. Either R is equal to annihilator of x or R is equal to annihilator of y, which is a contraction. Therefore, this annihilator of x union annihilator of y is not equal to annihilator of xy. Automatically, it is an edge here. It is so. Of course, when it is equal, naturally the question comes. That is also answered by Badavi in some sense. If R is a commutative ring which is reduced but not an integral domain, if Z of R is an ideal, then annihilator graph is not equal to zero divisor graph. And of course, the Greek of the annihilator graph is 3. Please recall that Greek of the zero divisor graph is either 3 or 4. Therefore, it is not equal. Of course, when it is equal, that's a very classical characterization. Annihilator graph is equal to zero divisor graph if and only if number of minimal prime ideal is 2. Number of minimal prime ideals. So this is algebraic assumption. So the graph theoretical conclusion through algebraic implication. Of course, when R is not reduced, the characterizations are available. Of course, this is a complete list of local rings in which what is the zero divisor graph, what is the annihilator graph, all these things are known. Of course, you know, in the case of 7, this many rings are there in which gamma of R is something different. They are very different. But for all these graphs, the annihilator graph is the complete graph on 7 vertices. So this is the case. Okay. In 2016, Bennis et al., Turkish Journal of Mathematics, they extended the concept of the zero divisor graph by this way. Suppose R is a commutative ring. The extended zero divisor graph is denoted by gamma bar of R, for which the vertex set is same as zero divisor graph, and two distinct vertices x and y are adjacent, provided x power m into y power n is equal to 0 for some positive integers n and n, m and n, with x power m non-zero and y power n non-zero. Naturally, when m is equal to n is equal to 1, this becomes zero divisor graph. This is an extension. And please note that this gamma of R is a subgraph. As I said, when xy is equal to 0, m is equal to 1, n is equal to 1. Naturally, it is a subgraph. When R is reduced, these two graphs coincide each other. But in the case of rings which are not reduced, the graphs are not one. For example, It's an easy example to see. In the case of Z8, gamma of R is K12 and the gamma bar is K3. Therefore, they are not. Of course, when it is true, there is a complete characterization available by Bennis et al. As well as Anderson and others. For a commutative ring, gamma bar of R is equal to gamma of R if and only if for all nilpotent elements, it must be of nilpotent index 2. And for all other non-nilpotent elements, annihilator of x square must be equal to annihilator of x. So this is the thing. Of course, there are certain relations which have been proved by Betaney and others, which is 2020, which is not yet, it is only online appeared. And the very fortunately, they could prove that gamma of R is a subgraph of gamma of R, which is a subgraph of AG of R. Because the people may ask, this AG of R is a subgraph of gamma of R. Gamma bar of R is also a subgraph of gamma of R. And what is the interrelation between these two that has been proved in this paper? That is a very good observation in this paper. And of course, for Z12, the three things are very distinct. This zero divisor, extended zero divisor, and annihilator, they are strictly supergraphs. Of course, the reason is I can say 2 to 10 is an edge here, but it is not an edge in this one, and for which the diameter is 3. For this diameter is for this diameter is 2. For this diameter is 3. The reasons are there. Of course, I think Vijay, how long I can continue? I think I am exceeding my time. Just quickly, another 3 to 4 minutes I will take about. Redmond extended.
10 minutes.
Okay, fine. Then I am fine. Of course, Redmond extended this concept to arbitrary rings. In the case of commutative rings, the things have been dealt, but in the case of non-commutative rings, so naturally there is a question comes into the picture that xy equal to 0, yx may not be 0, and the other way also, yx equal to 0, xy may not be 0. In that case, you can draw only an edge from x to y, not the other way. So the zero divisor graph of non-commutative rings is nothing but directed graphs. So that is the first thing which is, and of course, naturally, when you talk about non-commutative rings, the domain of matrix rings comes into the picture. There are very good study about the matrix rings, upper triangular and other kind of matrix rings have been done by these people. Of course, this is a very complicated thing is that when the direct product of Mn of R and Mt of R, if the indices are different, that's a complicated part. If someone could attempt that problem through Artin theorem, semi-simple theorem, one can pass on to a general case. That is in the case of non-commutative rings. Of course, there are several studies about these things. As I said, this is the directed thing. In fact, this is the underlying undirected graph. Yeah, this is a graph for 2 by 2 matrices over Z2. You please see. So this one, fine. Of course, in 2018, there is another notion called trace graph of matrices. Mn of R denotes the set of all n by n matrices over R. The trace graph is denoted by gamma T of Mn of R. It's a simple undirected graph with the vertex set A such that there exists a B in Mn of R star. This means non-zero matrices. Trace of AB equal to 0. As I said, this is in order to avoid isolated vertices. With this vertex set, 2 distinct matrices A and B are adjacent, provided trace of AB equal to 0. This paper appeared in Acta Mathematica Hungarica. Of course, one of the things which we face at this moment is normally in graph theory, people used to draw various small graphs, get into some observation, try to get into proof, etc., etc. But you know, the smallest trace graph is this. This is the trace graph of 2 by 2 matrices over Z2. So 2 elements field. So this contains 15 elements, and this is the smallest trace graph. Even if you go for Z3, which will be very large, one cannot draw and do all these things. So that type of complications are there. Only theoretically one has to deal about. Of course, this zero divisor graph is a subgraph of the trace graph, because when AB equal to 0, naturally trace of AB is 0. And as in the case of zero divisor graph, trace graph is connected. Diameter is 2 because it is a too dense graph. You know, more edges are coming into the picture. Their diameter is at most 3. Here diameter is 2. Width is 3. Thereby it cannot be bipartite. Of course, there are some properties which could reveal the degree of the elements in the trace graph. Of course, for a matrix A, I of A denotes this is sum of all elements of this kind, and the degree of A is nothing but cardinality of R to the power n square. N is the index of the matrices. Cardinality of I of A is this elements of this form. If trace of A square not is equal to 0, and if minus 1, of course, and the other case, this number, if trace of A square is equal to 0. Why I point out this is it is a biregular graph. It is not a regular graph. It is a biregular graph. Degree is either this number or this number. Of course, the difference is only 1. So it's a biregular graph. So that's and of course, the minimum degree is known. If R is a field, the maximum degree is known. It has been proved by us that, which is a paper appeared in 2020, Acta Mathematica Angelica. We have proved that it is a two-connected graph, thereby it has no cut vertices. And of course, this is the graph which is sub-Eulerian. Sub-Eulerian means there exists a super graph which is Eulerian. There is another notion called super Eulerian. That means there is a subgraph which is Eulerian. Sorry, see, a graph is said to be sub-Eulerian if there exists a super graph which is Eulerian. If the other way around, it is called the super Eulerian. Of course, we have proved that this Tape's graph is a sub-Eulerian as well as super Eulerian. And of course, we have continued this study. There are many openings in this problem. Due to time constraint, just let me stop at this stage. And these are the references. Of course, I put it only the survey papers here. This is the base paper, very first paper. Sorry, it is 92. And this is a survey by Anderson. And recently, this survey has appeared in Surveys in Mathematics and Applications. Of course, I can pass on this PDF to Professor Vijay and Aparna. You can get it from them, or you can communicate with me for any material or any clarification. We are wide open. Just I may be permitted to stop at this stage.
The forum is now open for discussion. If you have anything to ask, you are free to.
And let me stop the presentation.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, can I make a comment, please?
Yeah, please.
So I think it's I've answered my own question. I believe the fact is that every finite graph occurs as an induced subgraph of a zero divisor graph of a finite ring. So I believe I have an argument for this. Perhaps it's a little bit, it's not too long, but it's more than I can just say in a sentence. So perhaps I should write it down and send it to you, and to Vijay.
Pardon?
So shall I? I've got an argument to show that every finite graph is an induced subgraph of a zero divisor graph.
Every finite graph
is a subgraph, an induced subgraph. An
Okay.
induced subgraph of
fine.
a zero divisor graph. So it's about half a page argument, I think, if I write it out.
Okay.
So I'll write it out
Fine.
and send it.
Fine.
Thank you, sir. I will share with the participants.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with you.
Okay, right.
Fine. Of course, just I would like to mention that the Ivan Beck started this. There is an echo, I think. Ivan Beck started this study called coloring of rings. Of course, he has conjectured that the chromatic number is equal to the click number. D.D. Anderson et al. Proved that it is not true. Of course, Gavaskar also tried some other counterexamples for that. Gavaskar, what happened to that?
Sir, regarding what, sir? The counter example.
Chromatic number equal to click number.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, we want counter example was there, you know. So that,
you could. You said that there are infinitely many.
Yeah. By using that, we constructed. It's a very small construction that is not very big. But even then, we have some other counter examples also available.
Okay.
Other counter examples, infinitely many counter examples also. Sir, he was asking one question. Every finite graph is an induced subgraph of a zero-divisor graph or something. I think that may not work because P4, P5, P6, so we cannot invert. So we cannot find any graph for which this one we cannot find any ring. Induced, he is using the word, he is an induced. Sir, please mute.
Please repeat.
Sir, hello, can you hear me?
Repeat what
Tamil
you said.
student, sir.
Yeah.
Peter, please. Do you feel that it could be the induced subgraph? Every finite graph is.
Yeah. His question is actually induced subgraphs.
Yeah.
Induced means P4 and P5, which is not there. You could not find it.
That's what. That's.
That is actually the negative answer. That is one such a thing. But he is asking which finite graph. Okay, that maybe we can characterize. We can try. Which finite graph are an induced subgraph, zero-divisor graph of some graph. That maybe we can try, but not all graph.
But in the case, sometimes the answer may be zero also. There may not exist anything. Okay, let him. Yeah.
Why? Because you take a star graph, we can find a graph, you know. So we can find a. You can take a star means you can take what we call the integral domain. You can take it integral domain with some. Okay, because integral domain 0 is the only thing. So the remaining other, that graph we have, you know, that is realizable. Star graph is the realizable. So can you hear me, sir?
Yeah. You mean K1 n minus 1 star, huh?
Yeah.
K1 n minus 1 is.
Complete biquadral graph also you can take.
But it is not directly integral domain. It must be direct product.
That's okay, sir. But what is his question means? All finite group is an induced subgraph of some. I'm sorry, finite graph is an induced subgraph of zero-divisor graph.
I have a little bit doubt about it. Okay, let him.
Okay.
Professor Cameron, do you have anything to add to his point?
Not at the moment, no. I think what I've said is right, and the implications of it I haven't thought about yet.
Okay.
But indeed,
because very trivial is, you see, I cannot say this is the only. I have got a ring in which cycle is a subgraph, but not an induced subgraph. But I have not exhausted for all the rings. That's what the question comes. But even then, induced is somewhat we have to look at that.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm in a sense I make it easy for myself because I get to choose the ring.
For example, if you take a path of length 5, diameter is.
Yes.
But diameter is at most 3 here.
Yes, but there could be a shorter path somewhere else in the graph.
Yeah.
You have a path of length 5.
Yeah.
Hang on. You have a path of length 5.
So once you go for the fourth edge, automatically there must be some adjacency in between.
Yeah,
so that is
not adjacencies between. It wouldn't be induced, but there are other vertices. You get steps of length 2.
Oh.
Right?
Okay,
outside
you please.
The path.
Yeah.
So this is perfectly possible, and I think my proof will stand up, but I will write it down.
Okay.
This afternoon and send it.
Fine. Are there any other questions or observations?
Especially from junior participants.
Only we want the opinion from them.
Professor, I have a question. Like you have characterized for certain classes, the graphs are isomorphic if and only if the corresponding rings are isomorphic.
Yeah.
For certain classes.
Yeah.
So what about, we can think of the counting problem. You take a graph, how many rings or commutative rings will be there with this particular graph as a zero divisor graph?
Exactly. I had the same question in mind.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you see, but the problem is, when you take a graph with n vertices, ultimately the number of zero divisors including 0 is n plus 1. Isn't it? You wanted to find a ring with exactly n plus 1 zero divisors.
Okay.
But the cardinality of the ring is not exactly known, only the upper bound is proved by Ganeshan. So you cannot construct the entire multiplication of the commutative ring through the adjacency or the multiplication of the part of the elements. You see, as I said in the beginning, this zero divisor graph represents only portion of the commutative ring. There are units which are not connected with this one. However, you are going to connect with them. That is a complication. I think, yes, but it's not an easy task.
But maybe we can impose something on the cardinality of the ring itself.
That's what
That
you try. You try. Really, you try. But the thing is that, what is the complicated part? I am telling.
Yeah. So units we can append so that size of the ring can enlarge.
Only tool, as per as my suggestion, is Peirce decomposition. There is a Peirce decomposition for a commutative ring through idempotent elements and something. Okay, it's only way. Fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, my question is, if R1 and R2 are two rings, actually commutative rings with unity. If we have zero divisor graph of R1 and zero divisor graph of R2 separately, can we say something about the zero divisor graph of R1 cross R2 using the graphs of R1 and R2?
It is also a very good question. We have got answers for this another class of graphs called the total graphs, not in the case of zero divisor graphs. What he is asking about is direct product of rings and direct product of graphs. He wanted to realize the zero divisor graph of the direct product in terms of the not direct product, product of the zero divisor graphs of the individual components. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Product means there are different types of products. So it
there
can be any operation.
In the case of total graph,
yeah.
We can realize the total graph of
if
the
there
direct
is some
product
relation.
in terms of the direct product of the total graphs. If someone could
what
succeed
total
in
graph
this
is there,
problem,
right?
it is x plus y is a zero divisor.
Yeah.
That's all. It is rather, instead of multiplication, it takes the addition.
Yeah, that I know, sir. I know, sir. Yeah.
So in the case of, suppose if
I
your
was
question
asking
is
about zero
attempted,
divisor graph.
no, if your question is attempted,
yes,
somehow we can get into Weissing's Weissing conjecture regarding domination. There is a close link between these two things. But not yet.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, for zero divisor graphs of ordered set, they are coming as a tensor product, if I'm remembering correctly. So there is a GP G of P1 cross P2 is isomorphic to GP1 cross GP2, where the graph product is a tensor product. So I don't know for rings as such. For ordered set, it is there.
You mean ordered rings or ordered structures?
No, ordered sets, sets.
Okay, ordered sets.
Okay.
But does it anything to do with the comparability graph the other day Peter was talking about?
No, I don't think.
Okay. What is the adjacency in the case of this? When I take ordered set 2, you will say A meet B equal to 0, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
A meet B. But he was talking about A less than or equal to B or B less than or equal to something.
That is a comparability graph.
Yeah, comparable. Okay. So your thing is that A meet B equal to 0, lattice structure.
Yes.
Yes.
Fine.
I think you can wind up.
Yeah. So may I now request Dr. Shankar to propose the vote of thanks?
Yeah. Okay. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So I will thank Professor Tamil Selvan, CSIR Emeritus scientist from Tirunelveli Manoன்மணியம் Sundaranaar University. Actually, he gave very nice, like it's starting from the introduction and starting from ring and the definition of ring and everything, all the zero devices, and even he didn't miss any one single definition. He recollected and all the things, and so basics of the graphs also, how the ring, zero divisor and the graphs are connected, and so up to starting from the scratch, and he covered up to now, like recently what are the things are going on, and so recent results, and so what are the open problems. And so I would like to thank him as because of organizing committee for his nice lecture. So thank you very much, sir. So then I would like to thank Professor Peter also, so for his nice discussion and making this group alive. And so I would like to thank Vijay Kumar sir and Aparna madam. So also then I would like to thank all the professors who are attending these things and making alive. It's very nice that everybody is asking question, and it's not like it's not going like a one person talking, just not like that. It's going like a very vibe thing, so it's very interesting. And so so thank you, and I would like to thank all the students like who are all present also. So thank you very much. So thank you very much once again, Tamil Selvan sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I thank Professor Vijay Kumar, Aparna, Peter, Vinayak Joshi,
fine. Welcome.
Everybody. Yeah, everybody. So as Professor Vijay Kumar pointed out, this thread must be continued and it should yield fruits.
Yes.
So there must be some
I
effective.
think, we are very optimistic about that.
Yeah.
As the number of lectures increases.
Definitely.
And as far as the organizers concerned, we will meet on April 21st because of elections and some local Vishu and all that. So next session will be on 21st of April, Wednesday at 5:30. After that, we are busy because all the 4 schedules in May is full, and also the remaining 21st and 28th are also occupied. So a vacancy comes only in June. Okay, so see you on April 21st. We will remind you about the link and all that.
Yeah.
And we will give you more details also.
From the side of organizing committee, we are really happy that some fruitful discussions are going on through the online platform and in offline mode through emails. As Professor Ambat Vijay Kumar sir has already mentioned, the next session will be on 21st. On April 7th, we are having elections in Kerala, and on April 14th, it is a public holiday. So the next session will be on April 21st. The next one will be on April 28th, and there will be a slight time change for the session on April 28th. That will be at 4:30. And all the 4 weeks, all the 4 Wednesdays of May, will be having sessions at 5:30. The detailed program schedule along with the abstract and details about the speakers will be mailed to you. So once again, thank you very much for joining and making this a fruitful session.